Hello everyone, it's been over a month since my very first video on this YouTube channel, and I know, I'm sorry. You probably don't care at all, but I am still sorry. The month of June has genuinely been one of the worst months ever for my writing. Okay, that's not true. I just lied to you. I am calling the month of June the month of doom and despair because 3 things happened with my writing, and I just want to tell you about them. I finished Act 1 of my new adult urban fantasy, and I also came up with a name for it. Number 2, my computer broke, but then she revived herself 4 days later. I'll get more into that. And then 3, my book, my young adult contemporary novel, Golden Girl, died in the query trenches, unfortunately. This is her. She will have her time, and I'm really sad that she died, but also the more I think about it, I don't really know if I wanted her to be my debut well, I'd be happy if she was my debut novel, but like, I think I would have another thing better to put out in the world except for this. So once I actually do publish my debut novel, I think she will come later in the game once I brush her up. So let's start talking about how I finished Act 1 of my urban fantasy novel. And I'm gonna tell you the name of it because I've been tentatively calling it Project Graveyard because I didn't know what to name it, but I came up with a name for it, which is really exciting. This book, I'm gonna say a lot of words put together, but I think that it describes the book as well as I can without telling you any of the plot. It's a new adult, Southern Gothic urban fantasy set in 1990s Louisiana in like a swampland. And I've been calling it Project Graveyard because my main character is a grave robber, and I am super excited. I'm going to call the book Blackbone, and I'm calling it Blackbone for 2 reasons. I consulted my friend Lola and I asked her to help me name the book, and she revealed to me that she's not very good at naming books, and you know what, that was fine, but she did say something about 1-word titles, and normally I don't like 1-word titles, or I just don't like them. I don't know why, but I ended up naming it Blackbone because the book is centered around this university called Blackbone University of Necromancy. And I thought that the name Blackbone just fit the book. But anyways, back to the fact that I finished Act 1 a couple weeks ago. When I finished Act 1, I was super excited because I knew that once I finished Act 1, it would either be me telling myself, okay, this is a project that you can go forward with, or this was a fun idea, but you're not gonna finish it. But I am full steam ahead on this project. I think that what I've set up is really fun, and I'm super excited to go into Act 2 and Act 3, and then Act 4. I did a 4-act structure. Once I finished Act 1, I felt really secure in the plot that I outlined, and I was excited to get moving with it. I felt like it's a first draft, so it's definitely not perfect, but I felt like all the little things that I was planting worked well for what I had coming up next, and I am super excited for that. But once I finished Act 1, this is when everything started to go south. As soon as I finished Act 1, literally that day, I finished Act 1 in the morning, and while I was home, I put on The Good Place, and I was watching The Good Place, and I was on my phone, and I didn't realize that my computer told me that it was like low battery. And normally when that happens, I immediately plug it in because I don't like when my computer dies completely, just in case I have something open that isn't saved automatically. But unfortunately I missed it and my computer died completely, and I thought, you know what, that's fine, I'm just gonna plug it in for a couple minutes and then turn it on, because that's normally what happens when something dies completely. You just plug it in and it turns on automatically. The computer didn't turn on for hours. It just kept giving me the little battery, like the empty battery thing, and I couldn't tell if it was telling me to plug it in or that it was already plugged in and it just needed a couple minutes. So I just kind of sat there, I cried a bit, and it just wasn't normal for a couple days. So anyways, a couple days after that, my computer finally turned on, and it had only charged to 27% after being on the charger all night. But once I unplugged it, it said like, your computer is plugged in but it's not charging. I don't know if anyone else with like MacBooks has experienced this, but sometimes when you plug in the computer, it says that it knows that it's plugged in, but it's not actually charging the battery. It just said that all the time, even when it wasn't plugged in, and I was really confused and I was frustrated because the battery percentage wasn't going up past 27%, and I was like, you know what? I'm just tired of this. I'm going to buy a new computer because this computer is from 2019. I was like, I'm probably going to need another one soon anyway. So I ended up purchasing a MacBook Neo in that pretty green color, the citrus one. And I was excited about that for a while, but then it hadn't charged my card for like a week, or maybe it was 5 days. I don't remember. It didn't charge my card, but then my computer started working normally again, and it's still working normally. So I ended up canceling the order because I hadn't charged my card or shipped yet. But now my computer is fine. And I'm scared that she's gonna die again, but also I don't really want to fork over $500 if I don't have to. So we're gonna see how this goes. And yeah, I will say my computer dying on me really did put like a wrench in my June plans. I thought I was going to be much farther into my first draft of Blackbone, but I just kind of felt very discouraged after finishing Act 1 because I really did want to start Act 2. I was like full steam ahead on it, and I couldn't because my computer wasn't working for a couple days, and by the time it was working again, I just didn't feel the same motivation. I'm definitely getting more motivation back. I finished 2 chapters of Act 2, which is exciting, but I'm not writing as much as I was before in Act 1, like as fast as I was writing it, but I think we're getting back to that. I think July is gonna be my month, okay? Mark my words. Actually, maybe don't, because I just be telling lies on here, so sorry. But anyways, this is the third and arguably saddest update, even though I kind of saw it coming. My contemporary young adult novel, Golden Girl, officially died in the queer trenches. RIP. Now, I can't say that I wasn't surprised when I got the rejection on that last full. I know that contemporary young adult just isn't selling right now because the kids don't know how to read. No, I'm kidding. But I really need John Green to come back because I'm kind of like getting discouraged. So like I got a full manuscript rejection on the current book that I'm querying because it didn't have enough romance in it, and it is a young adult contemporary novel. And she was like, well, if the romance started a little earlier, then that would be more appealing to the editors right now because they're not wanting to buy contemporary young adult. And that was discouraging. I was a little sad about it, but at the end of the day, if this book doesn't work out, the book that I'm querying, not Golden Girl, because she's dead. And that's really sad, but see, look at her, she's dead. RIP Daytona. What was I saying? Anyways, I'm not gonna be too discouraged if this book ends up dying in the queer trenches because I know that it's not the book. I think that it's a good book. The people that have read it have told me that it's a good book, and I'm inclined to believe them because, I don't know, I just believe in my heart that it's a good book, and they told me that. So I think that's good, but also like if it dies again in the queer trenches, then that it is what it is. And honestly, I think that with Blackbone, it's definitely more marketable than the other ones. Fantasy is just a big thing. The only thing that I'm kind of concerned about with this book, well, actually I'm not concerned about it because romantasy right now is such a saturated genre. My book is not a romantasy and it doesn't have a happy ending. So I'm actually not sure how many people are gonna want that, but at the end of the day, it's what I want to write, it's what I feel inclined to write, and I'm not going to write to a market. I mean, I could technically write my horror book that I have right now because I know that horror is really, really popping right now. And I think that my concept for that book is good, but it's just not something that I'm called to at the moment. And that's okay. And I don't want to write something just to like sell it because that's just not what I want to do at the moment, because at the end of the day, I am only 19. I'm 19. I don't have to rush into the publishing industry and nobody's telling me that I need to, but I'm just gonna write what I want to write because it makes me happy, and I write because it makes me happy, not because I want to be published, even though I do want to be published. But that's not the main reason that I write books, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think this book, Blackbone, is going to be appealing to a lot of people, maybe, hopefully. Southern Gothic, I think that's pretty cool. Something that people like, I think, from what I've observed. Has institutional intrigue and discussions about like power and class and race and misogyny, and it's vibey, it's creepy, it's has bones in it and necromancy. I love necromancy. And yeah, I think that it'll be good. I think the book will be good. Do I think that it'll get me an agent? I'm not gonna say because I truly don't know, and it is luck. Would be nice if it did, but at the end of the day, I'm writing this because I want to write it, and I'm writing it because it makes me happy. So moral of the story is June sucked, but it was also great because it was Pride Month. And that's all I have to say about that. Okay, bye-bye. Like and subscribe, please.